Welcome to the YouTube edition of the Storywise podcast. This segment is just part of a full 1-hour interview which you can hear on iTunes and at GrisantiConsultancy.com.
Welcome to Storywise. This is the podcast designed to give you the in-depth story behind some of our top storytellers as a way to inform, motivate, and inspire you to believe that you too can make your dreams a reality. My name is Jen Grisanti. I am the story career consultant at Jen Grisanti Consultancy, Inc., a writer's consultancy designed to help you accomplish your writing goals and reach your career destination through one-on-one consults, seminars, and teleseminars. And I am absolutely thrilled to have with me as my guest today, George Mastras. George is currently a producer for the Emmy Award-winning drama Breaking Bad on AMC. He has been on the show for 3 seasons. He wrote standout episodes, Crazy Handful of Nothing, which won the 2009 Penn USA Award for Best Teleplay, and Grilled, which was nominated for the 2010 Edgar Allan Poe Award. He has also written for such diverse series as the Sci-Fi Channel's supernatural detective series, The Dresden Files, and John Wells' Warner Brothers-produced crime drama, The Evidence. George was awarded the ABC Disney Writing Fellowship in 2005, was nominated for WGA Awards in both 2008 and 2009 for Best Drama in connection with his work on Breaking Bad, and was selected for the WGA Showrunner Training Program in 2010. And that's not all. George is also a novelist. His debut novel, Fideli's Way?
Fideli's Way, yes.
Fideli's Way was published by Scribner in 2009 and has since been released in translation internationally, inspired by George's travels in the remote tribal areas of Pakistan and war-torn Kashmir before and after 9/11. Fideli's Way has been critically acclaimed as brilliantly told and stirring first novel with an Odyssey-like story. Before writing, George worked as a criminal investigator for the Public Defender's Office, a counselor at a juvenile correctional facility, and a trial attorney in New York and Los Angeles. After 10 years of practicing law, he quit his job, sold his belongings, and spent several years backpacking around the globe before he returned to the U.S. to pursue writing professionally. Born in Boston, George is a graduate of Yale, UCLA Law School, and Outward Bound. Wow.
Well, thank you so much for that too kind introduction.
I was so impressed when I was looking at all this. I remember meeting with you and going, wow, but this is wow several years later.
Oh, thanks, Jen.
So, yeah.
It's a pleasure and an honor being here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Number one, I have to start with Breaking Bad is like one of my absolute favorite television shows on right now.
Wow. Well, great.
It is.
Thanks.
I love it. And I love your episodes.
Oh, thanks so much.
Really, I have so watched your name come up on my favorite episodes over the years. So I commend you on that.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And congrats on all the acclaim the show is getting.
Yeah, it's been a great run, a great 3 years, and it's a privilege being on that show for sure.
Are you one of the few who has survived all 3 years, or are there many? I know Vince has been on it, obviously.
It's Vince's
the creator,
creation, and,
yes.
Yeah, and there's myself and Peter Gould have been on since the first year.
Great.
And but there's very little turnover. I mean, most of the writers have been around, if not from the first year. The second year is Moira Walley-Beckett and
That's right.
Sam Catlin.
Yeah,
They
great.
were both on year 2 and 3, and we got picked up for a a fourth season as well.
Congratulations.
So we'll be going forward.
Yay for us.
Yeah. So it's a great writing
Yay
staff.
for us because the viewers, I'm just thrilled. Well, and it's interesting to me about that concept because I remember looking at that concept the first year and going, I wonder what they're going to do time-wise if this show works, considering the diagnosis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. You have a lead character, your lead is essentially dying of cancer, lung cancer, and lung cancer is not really a curable disease. And we're not going to cure cancer on the show. So, a lot of it is that the show goes very slowly, and an episode will take, some episodes, take the course of an hour or two out of these people's lives, and or days,
That's
So
smart.
really, since the first day, since the pilot, 6 months have passed or 7 months have passed. So you take it if you take things slowly.
Then it can work.
It can stretch out. Yeah.
Well, and I think too, like when you take a concept like Lost, and of course the idea was what's going to happen if they
Lost,
get found.
Perfect
and then
example.
It's like, yes,
it's like okay, they were on the island for like a month, and 4 years of the show have passed.
Yeah,
so yeah, exactly.
So it's like you do look at that and go, okay, anything is possible creatively, and you have that liberty. And I think it's fascinating for me, like when I look at the concept descriptions of Breaking Bad, how it was described in the beginning versus how it is now, which it seems more like the diagnosis was a platform to launch Walt, the lead character played by Bryan Cranston, into this world of being the kingpin of the drug world. Right.
It's having death at his back and sort of that being, the motor or the engine behind this transformation. And we do try to be very accurate about the medical stuff, and it's people struggle with a terrible disease like cancer. It has its ups and downs, and you kind of never get over it. You can go in remission for a while. And remission technically just means it's not growing or it's responded a little bit to treatment, and it can come back, and people can last for several years. And it's still
with lung
up
cancer.
Eventually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah. Generally, it's
I was going to say
very bad type.
But
actually, my brother's an oncologist, and he serves as sort of the consultant on the show. And
that's
they have
great.
people living 4 or 5 years with lung cancer now. So
really,
it all depends on how aggressive your tumors are and how you respond to the treatment. And so
wow, that's wild. That's serious. Have you guys done well as far as any of the awards for, like, I don't know, does Humanitas do the
there's
what awards are there?
Is it the
that
Sentinel
deal with
Award?
the issues?
We've won that. Yeah,
That's
we won
great.
I believe it's the Sentinel Award.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Which is for accuracy. First season won that for accuracy in medical issues. And,
that's great.
And of course, there was a great episode from the first season that dealt with, whether or not Walt actually wanted to accept treatment at all.
Right.
And I think they really responded to that because, most people just, do you want to go through this long kind of chemotherapy and the stuff? The treatment can be bad in and of itself. And so to actually see that kind of debate on TV, whether or not you actually wanted to go through with it, and Walt didn't really want to go through with it, but he ended up doing it for his family,
I think it's a very prevalent universal issue. I mean, I just went through it with my best friend, and it was one of my best friends, and it was a very, very trying time because, of course, you have the struggle of Eastern versus Western medicine and the idea of what really is the best course of action for each individual. So I think to have entertainment show it in a way that is a very prevalent issue that many people are going through, I think is great.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Definitely. Now, thinking about, and then I'm going to get, you wrote the first episode of this season, right?
No, I did not.
You wrote the episode. I know your name was on. It was one of the earlier episodes.
Vince wrote the first episode of this season. I wrote episode 3.
3.
Yeah.
It was episode 3. That was an episode that I was like, wow. And I love the first episode too. I love the pilot. Like, I went and watched the pilot
it's fantastic
again
pilot.
because I teach writers, so I often cite Breaking Bad as an excellent pilot as far as how you write a strong pilot. And but I'm curious, like, how the show has evolved when you think about going into the show your very first week versus now, and story. Like what has that journey been like?
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading the pilot too, and I was just like this blown away by the pilot, as almost everyone is.
Yeah.
And you okay, this is a show about a guy who's dying of lung cancer, and he's a high school chemistry teacher, and he's cooking meth in his RV with a former student, and like this is a fantastic concept for a show, and Vince is the first one to admit that you'd never think this would actually make it on the air, and then when you get on the air, it's like how is it going to last? It's just and I think Vince will, he's the first one to say it's just this. It's really kind of experimental in a way because it's a TV show about transformation. I mean, as you get like chemistry. It's about transformation, and it's about change and taking a character, he always says, from Mr. Chips and turning him into Scarface.
Yeah.
And so it's very unusual for a TV show to do that.
Yeah.
And it's a big experiment. How do you keep the audience with you when you see that transformation? You have to get the audience invested in this character, but he's going places and doing awful things, and you want to, how far can you push the envelope and still have people rooting for him? And a lot of the story, comes from just sort of allowing this character and the other characters around him to grow organically. So there's not as much sort of, I've worked on procedural shows before where you're, okay, let's come up with murder mysteries and throw them out there, but this is really different. It's like, how does this character, how do we take this character and how would this character respond to his environment? And it's really something that grows organically. So we do a lot of debating all about character in the writing.
But the transformation, like I would imagine, like they said, I think it was when The Good Wife started, that one would have thought it was a legal show that was highly driven by the case. And it became more character driven because it tested, well, character-wise, I would imagine Breaking Bad probably has evolved over formula, like over what they thought the formula was going to be, and then became so. Although I'd have to say the pilot was very character driven. It was plot driven as well, but I would say his character has always been a deep, deep part of it. Everything,
in my view, everything really starts from debating what these characters would do.
Yeah.
It all really starts from that.
Well, and Walt's wife, I like what you guys have done with her. I
Skylar,
think and I love his son as well. I mean, and Jesse and the finale last year. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen I still have to watch the finale this year. I'm so excited. So now take me into your 2 episodes that won the awards. I'm would love to hear a little. What is the concept for each of them, and when you were writing them, how did you feel as a writer? I feel like I'm really hitting something special, or was the reaction to them a surprise, or how was that experience for you?
I think on the first one you're talking about, Crazy Handful of Nothing, which was the first season episode that I wrote. It's really, it felt like that was a very transformative moment for Walt. So I kind of did feel like, all right, and I just got lucky that it happened that this big moment happened. That I was writing, and I kind of knew that, and I kind of wanted to really, mine that the best that I could. And so it was just Storywise and character.
Thank you for listening. You can hear this interview in its entirety along with dozens more on the Storywise podcast. Just go to iTunes or GenGrisantiConsultancy.com.